lovely. I love the size. Like, we did get to choose our size, and I just kind of like the size of it. It's nice and comfy in your hand. So, yeah. And this art is by Galen Dara, who lives down in Tucson. We have Galen do almost all of our stuff if we can. So I'm super happy with it. And she's actually redoing a question of navigation for me right now, too. So, yeah, it'll be great.
Oh, we are live. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Hey! Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. So welcome to another great night here at the Poison Pen. My name is Patrick. I am our science fiction and fantasy selector here over at the store. I've been reading Kevin since the very, very beginning, so we're always really lucky to have him come on down. And this is sort of a special occasion because really you're here for your mom's birthday. So first of all, happy birthday, Kevin's mom, Pat.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So, congratulations. You've raised one of the best writers in the United States, in my opinion, and
that's totally what she intended. Yeah. All right. I got a pose for mom. Sorry, everybody. When your mom says you do something, you got to do it.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times, right, Kevin? So, this is really cool because you've come we're about 6 months out from Curse of Krakens.
Yeah.
Right? So, where we've got, meaty literary Kevin, and now we've got a meaty mystery.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I have a ton of stuff coming out this year, so we could talk about that. Last year was just the one giant epic, but this year I have a ton of stuff coming out. So, yeah.
Well, you could only write one epic a year, I think. I mean, if you got to be a little crazy if you did more than that, right?
Yeah, it took me a little bit longer than a year to get it done, but in the meantime, I was also working on other stuff, and it's all just sort of the weird publishing schedule. Everything's kind of coming out at once. So, yes, I have Canines and Cocktails, and did this with Chuck and Delilah. All of the novellas are about dogs and drinks. So you have Oberon and Starbuck on here on the cover, but also this is Peach Pit, a new character with Delilah. This is actually introducing a new series that she is writing with Del Rey. So, and then this is Gumball, the Golden Retriever. And Gumball is part of Chuck Wendig's book called Wayward. And when I was reading Wayward, every time Gumball came on to the page, I would just like, Gumball! I just love that dog. So it's the best, and I hope you guys will enjoy all of these. They're very different, of course, because we're all very different writers. I'm a fan of Chuck and Delilah's as well as being their friend. Yeah, I had a great time writing this because this Oberon's Meaty Mystery is really the happy ever after for Atticus that lots of folks have been waiting for. The Iron Druid Chronicles was the story of how Atticus got free of the gods who were chasing him. That was the point of the story for him, is like, how did I finally free myself from the burden of being a fugitive for 2,000 years? And so he ended the story where he got his freedom. But that wasn't necessarily a happy ever after, and it takes a while for him. And Irish stories, to be fair, they're not happy ever afters. A lot of Irish stories are terrifying and sad, and which is one of the reasons I also wanted to tell the story the way I did, because I was annoyed when I first started writing Hounded. I was annoyed at the Disney character making fairies friendly to humans. I'm like, no, that's not the way the Fae are supposed to be portrayed. They're not your friends. So I was writing all of this from, trying to be Irish about it. And an Irish narrator tells the story and finishes it when he feels he's gotten to the end that's relevant to him. And Atticus doesn't necessarily think about a happy ever after when you left 2,000 years. That's a long time to be happy. So he doesn't expect that necessarily of himself. So it takes a while. Things have to develop. So stuff happened after Scourged. There's the third Oberon's Meaty Mystery, which is called The Buzzkill. That's set about 6 months after Scourged.
Yep.
And then you have Ink and Sigil, which starts a year after it. And then Paper and Blood, okay, where you get a whole bunch. That's a lot of resolution there in Paper and Blood for Atticus and Oberon. But then this book, Canine, The Chartreuse Chanteuse, is the novella that I wrote here. It takes place over the weekend in between Paper and Blood and Candle and Crow, which is coming out in October. So this is your little sort of bridge thing. When you see Atticus and Oberon show up in Candle and Crow, they are already into their happy ever after, which, starts here. So, yeah, tell everybody this is the stuff you've been waiting for.
Exactly. And ours are somewhere in between Tennessee and Phoenix at the moment.
Okay.
We're just waiting for. So one of the challenges is you decided to go ahead, you, Delilah, and Chuck, to publish this yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so for us, getting the copies isn't a problem. It was the big challenge was they were still printing them when we did our initial order. So one of the challenges then is that the books are coming. Kevin's going to be kind enough to be signing book plates for us because he's going to be heading up to the frozen north.
Yeah.
For a little while, so we can't exactly ship the books. But you can still order the book. You can still get it signed. And guess what? Kevin comes back regularly. So you can...
Because Mom!
And you need a little sunshine, a little heat, a little time to thaw out a little bit,
Yeah.
So, what is it like sitting down and writing a short story versus sitting down and writing A Curse of Krakens? What's going on in your writer brain there?
Well, it's tremendously easier because Oberon is very simple in terms of what he likes. He's got a few things that he likes, and those are his motivations. And so, but it's a lot of fun having him, basically ground Atticus in the present. And, Atticus has such a long history, and he's always thinking about the long view or stuff that happened long in the past. And Oberon has a great way of just bringing him back to the here and now. So it's a lot of fun for me to do that. And it opens up certain philosophical things, too. Mm-hmm. Because the dog is basically a Taoist. If you're familiar with Taoism at all, they're very much about living in the present and instead of the past or the future. So it's a different kind of worldview than perhaps a lot of other philosophies that are out there. So, I really dig that about Oberon and what he brings to the table. And the opportunities for him to learn things is always fun too, because he still doesn't know everything, right? He's a very old dog, but he doesn't know everything yet, so it's a good time.
And he's going to be around forever.
Well, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very important to know.
Yes.
Nothing bad ever happens really to Oberon.
Yep.
You could kill off Atticus, we'd be fine.
Yes.
Kill off Oberon.
Oberon's got right.
We're writing letters to you, sir.
Yep. I understand. Yeah. So, this is. If you want some more Oberon, I should go ahead and make a plug here. One of the things I decided to do this year is write a new short story every month from Oberon's point of view, and it is going out to folks who subscribe to my newsletter and have a paid subscription. The paid subscription is like $6 a month, so it's like buying me a fancy taco, and I write you a short story. So think of it like that. Okay, so they go out at the end of every month. I've already started the one for this month. It's going out soon. The first one's already out, and if you subscribe now, you can go ahead and read that. The first one was set in the Netherlands during World War II, and these are all Oberon's bath time stories. So you know how Oberon will go and get a bath time, and Atticus will tell him something about a historical figure, and then Oberon becomes mildly obsessed with that figure for a while. That's what happens. So that's what you're getting every month. Of course, at the end, I will collect them all together, and they'll be available like as an ebook or audiobook. Luke Daniels will narrate it and all that good stuff. But in the meantime, if you want to subscribe and have it delivered to your mailbox, then that is supporting me in the writing of it and paying for Luke to do his narration and stuff like that. So
what made you decide to go self-published on this?
On this particular one?
Yep.
Well, we had self-published Death and Honey as well, and I'd also self-published like the audio for the Purloined Poodle and the Squirrel on the Train. Novellas are not really things that. I mean, there are people who publish novellas. It's Tor.com basically who does them, you know.
Right, exactly.
But most of Del Rey doesn't really publish novellas. So if you were going to publish a novella, then you would either need to go through probably Tor.com or just do it yourself.
Exactly.
So that's why I've just gone ahead and self-published these. They're fun for me to write and to add into the story of the Iron Druid Chronicles. But if you miss them, then you haven't missed something vital or crucial, I guess.
I've always found that short stories are a harder sell for people, and I'm not exactly sure why, because there's some great anthologies out there with some really great authors, and it introduces you to their voice and what they're capable of. So I always say, if you see a good anthology out there with your favorite author in there, to pick it up, because you're going to be introduced to 12 more that are going to, and somebody's going to really click with you on that.
For sure. I've got one with out there called Unbound 2 right now that has a short story in there that's the origin of Gladys, who has seen some shite. And so if you would like to dive into that, there's a whole bunch of authors in there you might be pleased to meet. So, and then, of course, I've had The Chapel Perilous, which was in Unfettered way back when. I've had there's another one coming out that is already out with an Oberon story called Fire Hazard, and that was in Paranormal Payback. No, Heroic Hearts. Sorry, Heroic Hearts. That's already out. Paranormal Payback is what I'm writing. There's a story there that I'm going to be writing about the Polish witches, the coven, and my research for that has become really interesting. I've become obsessed with Polish tea rooms. They're underground. There's this whole culture about going to a tea room now. The kids in Poland often will go to tea rooms right now instead of like trying to go out and drink or have keggers or whatever. They like to go to these little underground tea rooms instead and kind of chill out there and talk and hang out. So, and they're all in basements, like these brick covered basements, and they look super cool and cozy. So I'm into those right now. It's pretty fun. So yeah.
Did you visit someone? You were in Poland then?
Yeah, I did. And then I've been looking online, and then I have a bunch of Polish fans who've been super helpful and telling me about stuff in Warsaw. They love the Polish Covenant, of course. When I went to Poland one time, and they were like, "Thank you for writing about us." Like they're just so pleased that somebody is recognizing the existence of Poland. Hardly anybody ever writes about them. So and I while I was there, that's when I got introduced to Wisława Szymborska, the wonderful Polish poet who won the Nobel Peace Prize, the Poetry Prize. Yeah, I've really enjoyed their culture and their food and the great beer that they make there and all that other good stuff.
And hard words for Luke Daniels to pronounce,
yes.
Right?
That's what I really enjoy, because they have all of these words that like S, Z, C, Z, they're like all strung together. Maybe you'll throw in a Y, but then they'll just ignore all other vowels. So I just like pick one that has a whole bunch of Z's and stuff in it. I'm like, ha, go Luke, give that a try. He knows I'm messing with him too, and he doesn't mind because it's a challenge. He likes that, so I have fun challenging him, and then he likes to just sort of flawlessly pull it off. So it's great.
Well, within the Iron Druid series, you're set with the United States, the world, our world as we know it as the map. However, you've created in your Pell series and in your Seven Kenning series the maps for everything. So when you develop a new series, or if you develop a new series, what would you rather do? Would you rather sit down for like 6 months and draw out the map, or do you do that maybe a little bit later on after you first start writing the book?
Oh, I have to start with the map just because there's going to be traveling, and I want to know where they're going to go. And yeah, plus while you're doing the map, it basically suggests a whole lot of the world's politics and tensions, because of course every region has its own special resources, and those resources are things that they're going to trade or that other people are going to want to fight over and take from you. It's going to inform the history of wars and all that other kind of stuff that goes on in the world. So you kind of have to know what the map is before you really get into the storytelling, if you're doing a second world fantasy kind of thing. At least that's the way I approach it. So I did the map for A Curse of Krakens and the map for the Tales of Pel before actually writing the stories. So.
And I love your little jokes throughout both books.
Yeah.
Or both series.
Yeah.
There's a certain forest that is very entertaining that you and Delilah try to one up each other on.
Yes. So, yeah. So Delilah would name some of the things on the map for the Tales of Pel. And by the way, the first book is called Kill the Farm Boy. Okay, we were making fun of fantasy quite a bit, but the map for that is probably my favorite thing ever. So Delilah came up with where the elves live. They live in the Morningwood. So you could just imagine that the jokes, where they go from there. Very highbrow stuff. Woo! Really sophisticated. So we had a blast with that, and I would name things around the Morningwood, amusing stuff as well. So, and then I threw in a town just called Bob. All these, I just had a great time with it. So.
It's very Blackadder, the
Yeah.
Bob joke, right?
Yeah, exactly. Check it out if you haven't. If you haven't tried the Tales of Pel, they're very fun. So, yeah, I hope you guys dig it.
So you enjoy clearly writing everything that you write. I mean, it shines on the page. Where do you find you struggle? Where are the areas? Because your writing is so effortless in all three series.
Okay.
But I could assume that there is really
there's
deep
effort.
inside, there is some torture that is going on there too.
Yeah. What happens with me is that I get into what the characters are, or what they're saying and how they're acting, and how that is developing their character, and then I forget to talk about what they look like. I don't describe them. And in edits, this is a continuous thing with my editor. She's like, Kevin, I have no idea what these people look like. Again. This is book 20. You're still not describing anybody. So I have to go back in my edits and describe what people look like. For Hounded, for example, she's like, you have 3 different goddesses, Flittish, the Morrigan, and Breed, and you never say what any of them look like. Because to me, that wasn't part of their character. To me, their character was how they behaved and what they said. And so but I wasn't thinking about, well, the reader kind of needs this to get a picture in their mind and all that kind of stuff. I knew what they looked like in my head. In the process of writing, I just forgot that part. So that's the part I continually struggle with and have to remind myself. It's like, you should put in some clues so people know, what somebody looks like. So.
Now, are you finding nowadays you have some sensitivity readers that are coming through and reading your books? Because I know that is something that a lot of fantasy and sci-fi readers, or authors, do nowadays, is they have a sensitivity reader going through and making suggestions.
Yeah, I haven't done that a ton. I will probably do that with some stuff that I'm working on, but I haven't done that too much. When I was doing, for example, stuff for Tricked, I did have, I was doing some research and asking folks of the Navajo Nation to help me out with how this should be portrayed and what do we talk about and how do we do that. When I was doing the stuff for Shattered for the Hindu faith, I was talking to some folks of the faith to make sure I was kind of getting the Rakshasas right and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
So yeah, I didn't necessarily have sensitivity readers, but if I was talking about somebody else's culture at all, then I would make sure that I was talking to somebody from that culture to do my research in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
It's a challenge because you don't want to offend and you don't want to, but you want to explain as well. And I think it'd be harder when you're adding a little bit of humor with your adventure so that you don't offend. And you've always taken really great care, especially the Navajo and the Indian, throughout the entire series. So you've always seemed like you're very thoughtful in terms of that What were some of your favorite cultures to write about?
Oh, well, I really did enjoy doing the Hindu faith and making sure that I was doing that correctly. But it was fascinating reading that I was doing there. Of course, I enjoyed the Navajo Nation stuff as well. There's a rich history there. There's some great, recorded. There's a couple of books about their legends that have actually been recorded. Like somebody was telling the stories and they were being recorded and then basically transcribed. So that's a great original source. So yeah, I've enjoyed that. That was from the University of New Mexico that did that work. So great stuff.
You've really, you've written all over the board. You're an incredibly talented writer, and clearly you've got just such a huge fan base here and across the world. I'm going to bow out of the rest of the conversation because I'm sure there's going to be a ton of Q&A here from the audience and from the rest of the group. But I did have a question from one of our customers earlier on, begging me to ask you if you were going to have Luke Daniels doing a reading for Canines and Cocktails, or if that's going to be an audiobook, because people were very, very interested in that as well.
Yeah, it's done. So this is a weird thing. Amazon has decided that I do not exist, and they basically closed my KDP account, and without that account being open, I can't publish the audiobook. So I am in the process of trying to convince Amazon that I am a real boy, and once they acknowledge that and reopen my account, I can then go ahead and publish the audiobook. So Luke Daniels has already done it. In fact, he was done with it in November. I've just been waiting, to get it done. And if we hadn't had this snafu with Amazon, then it would be out already. I'm so sorry about the delay. These are we've just had issue after issue with the release of this, and none of it was intentional. It just stuff happens. So hopefully it'll all get fixed up and you guys will get to hear the audio as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to be running around the audience with my microphone.
Okay.
So you can ask whatever questions you guys want, and Kevin will be glad to answer them.
Sure.
So get those thoughts going. And who's first? Raise your hand.
While somebody's thinking real quick, I have one more thing I'd like to announce. Is that okay?
Oh, please.
Okay. So besides the Oberon short stories on my newsletter, I've got another thing coming out in June that you could pre-order now. It is a science fiction novella called The Hermit Next Door. It's set just south of Portland, and it's a woman and her son named Pax. They moved from Tennessee to Oregon because she's recently widowed and she's grieving. Okay, so she winds up buying this place out in Oregon by a river, and she's warned ahead of time that her next door neighbor is a recluse. Nobody's seen him in years. She's like, fine, I like peace and quiet. That's great. But it turns out that the hermit next door is actually not from around here, as in not from this planet. And there's a reason he's hiding. So she's abruptly part of the biggest secret on the planet. He's trying to get home. And she has to, decide, well, do I want to keep this secret or not? And how far do I want to go in helping him, So it is coming out in June, and you can pre-order it now from Subterranean Press if you just want to search for The Hermit Next Door. It's a signed, numbered, limited edition in print, and then there will be ebook and there will be audio as well. It won't be Luke Daniels because the narrator is a woman, so I've hired someone that I really like to be the narrator. Her name is Annalie Scott, and she'll be recording it shortly, and it'll be out in June as well. So, yeah, I wanted to tell you guys to look for that because that's coming out too. So, like I said, a busy year for me. So, yeah. Yeah, pre-order now, yeah. You had a question, sir, yes.
You mentioned previously that you have a squadron of editors that constantly remind you to describe the characters you're writing about. Yeah. And I'm wondering, have you ever been tempted to write a character who is visually impaired so you don't have to do any of that?
No, because that would be opening up its own little, I would need a sensitivity reader just for that part. To do a blind character to make sure I'm not doing that incorrectly. So, yeah, I don't want to unintentionally hurt somebody with who has any sort of disability. So I haven't done that particular kind of character yet. So, yeah, thank you for the question. Yes.
All right.
So my last name is Helgeson. You almost got it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's close. Yeah.
But forgot my question, but
That's okay.
I think it was. Would it help if we did anything like file complaints through Audible or through Amazon to say,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
I don't know what would help. I'm very confused about I can't seem to talk to a person. So I'm not sure what would help. Maybe emails would help, but I also don't want to annoy them, and because there's no way to guarantee that everybody would be polite. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to reach out. Like, I know a guy who knows a guy kind of thing, who might be able to talk to somebody who can figure things out, but we're not sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, you bet. Bye, Sammy. Bye, Shiloh. Yeah, none of that. None of that. By the way, that's my cousin Shiloh, who's taking off right now. She's got to go. Bye, Shiloh. Yeah. And Shiloh is featured in the Chartreuse Chanteuse, at least the name. So yeah, that character was named after Shiloh. The character in the book has nothing in common with the real Shiloh, but there you go. Just it's a Tuckerization kind of thing. That's right. So there you go. Pax in The Hermit Next Door is actually named after Shiloh's brother Pax. So there you go. Bye, Sammy. We'll see you. Say hi to Alex for me. Yes, sir.
Is it right if I name another author?
Of course.
Okay,
yeah,
so Douglas Adams.
Yeah, he's great.
Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul.
Yes, fantastic.
So that was that a lot of your inspiration, you think?
Oh, well, Douglas Adams in general, yeah, I love him. Yeah, I'm not sure that the tea time necessarily
because of Thor and there's a part in
Thor.
there where I really thought that you and Neil Gaiman got the ideas from Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul because of the content, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, see, I was really into Thor being a jerk because of there's so many thunder gods around the world, right? Because hey, guess what? Thunder is around the world. So we have all of these thunder gods in human faiths, and Thor is unique among them because he's got that prophecy about how he will die specifically. So he's got that whole Ragnarok thing going on, and he can't die until he meets a really big snake, right? Yeah. So that differentiates him from the other thunder gods. And I thought if you had a prophecy about how you would die, and you knew well in advance how you would die, it might tend to make you believe over time that there's no real consequence for your actions until you meet that snake. And if you're already a thunder god who's kind of prone to have a short temper, you know what I mean? I just thought that over time that would corrupt him. And that's where that came from. Just that's specific part of Norse mythology and that particular thunder god, that he had the potential to become corrupt over time, whereas a lot of other thunder gods don't really have that thing going for them. So that's where it came from. But I love Douglas Adams in general.
Thanks,
He's fantastic.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you bet. Great question.
Yes.
Yay.
All right.
So I don't remember if you said the Ink and Sigil series would be a trilogy, or if you have a plan for how many books you're going to be doing in that series.
Yeah, it is a trilogy. It is a trilogy. So Candle and Crow is the last one.
All right.
And almost everybody is in it. Okay, so Granuaile shows up for chapter 4, and Owen shows up in I forget which chapter, but he's there too. So everybody has their last farewell in Candle and Crow. So it wraps everything up for Al, Buck, and Nadia, but you also get all the Iron Druid folks in there too.
Oh, great.
So yeah, it's the whole gang. And of course, you can, if you've read the Iron Druid series and Ink and Sigil so far, you know who the Crow is, right? So there you go. Yeah, I don't want it. Yeah, I'm not spoiling anything here. Yeah. Oh, that's coming out October 1st. And honestly, from what I understand, the cover reveal is supposed to happen this next week. So it should be, like if you went out to a site right now or to Poison Pen, you could pre-order it right now. There's just no cover image. But the cover image should be loading up this week, and you guys will see it. So I'm excited about it. It's cool. Yeah.
What made you think of creating a character where everybody hates him after he opens his mouth?
Which one are we talking about?
I'm talking about your main character in Ink and Sigil. I'm blanking on his name at the moment.
Oh, Al McVarish.
Al McVarish, thank you.
Yeah, Aloysius McVarish, yeah. No, yeah, I'm not sure what made me think of that it was just a curse laid on his head to alienate him. So yeah, I did want a character though that was an older character. It's a little bit unusual to have your main protagonist be somebody in their 60s, but I'm like, hey man, I still have fun. I'm not in my 60s yet, but I'm just like, I would like to see some stories about folks who aren't all in their 20s and, banging everything that moves. So let's have somebody who's, been around a little bit and has some wisdom and so on, and let's see what kind of adventures or, what kind of problems that they're facing. So that's what I wanted to do there with the Ink and Sigil series. And it was a contrast with Atticus, right, who's incredibly old but looks super young. So what if you have somebody who's kind of in that world and everything, but is aging normally? So yeah, that's what I was doing there. So thanks. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, it's really sad that Rulabula shut down. I was actually here for that. They had that 1 week of the pop-up. Yeah. So I got to go and have the fish and chips one last time. But yeah, I would love for somebody else to take that over. But the guy who owns it, he's in his 60s or so. Like he'd rather retire, right? He doesn't want to continue to run a pub. So, but nobody's bought it from him. So, the name or anything like that. So. I'm not sure that will ever open up again, but I'm glad it was here while it lasted because it was a heck of a great pub, and a lot of old stuff. We were just talking over dinner about how a lot of old stuff that used to be here in Old Town Scottsdale is gone. Mag's Ham Bun, which then became Pishke's Paradise, that's gone, and that was on Main Street, wasn't it? Was it Main Street? Los Olivos is still there, but that's been there forever, and so. A lot of other stuff has changed, but you still have a few things that are kind of still core Scottsdale old-time stuff. So that's good. The Sugar Bowl's still there, yeah. Hey, we should go to the Sugar Bowl. So I haven't been there in years, man. So yeah.
Best hot fudge sundaes in the area, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And how dare they open a Haagen-Dazs right across the street? I'm just saying.
That's wrong.
Yeah,
that should have been illegal.
It really should.
Yeah.
So, what's your feeling on the romantasy, bringing people in a bigger readership into fantasy?
I'm all for more readers. That's great. Yeah, I'm super happy for anybody who finds a story they love. That's great.
It's really been exploding. So, who have you been reading? Because you always have a great list of recommendations for all of us here.
Yeah.
Who's really kind of been exciting to you?
I'm T. Kingfisher. If you guys haven't read T. Kingfisher, Nettle and Bone is pretty darn good. I actually blurbed that one. That was wound up winning the Hugo. And then there's I always recommend The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. And I love Andrea Stewart's trilogy, the Drowned Empire series. There's a talking animal kind of, going on there that you might enjoy. So if you like my stuff, you might really enjoy that epic fantasy. So it's very imaginative. The first book is called The Bone Shard Daughter. So yeah, there's a magic system based around bones. I love it. It was so interesting. So check that out if you'd like. So hope that helps.
Patrick, anybody online?
So far, but I have
Yep.
a question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned Poland.
Yeah.
How much you enjoy going over there and how well the books do. Have you thought about incorporating some of those myths? Because don't they have a very rich folklore tradition there? The Teutonic myths are really close.
Yeah. I have incorporated a little bit of the Polish stuff into the Iron Druid Chronicles. There were these nightmare creatures called the Nocnica that are sort of ghastly spectral figures that will choke you to death in your sleep. Yeah, scary as heck. So that I did incorporate a little bit going in there. So yeah, it's fascinating stuff for sure. And then they have, because of Poland being like sort of next door to Germany and Russia, they've been occupied at different times from different larger powers, and that is why they are very much a part of NATO and like, very much on the side of Ukraine right now. That they do not want to be occupied by Russia again. So yeah, they are definitely all sort of mobilized and doing all kinds of stuff on the border there. They're super. They don't. Warsaw looks very different, for example, from Poznan. Poznan is still the original sort of architecture and stuff of the ancient Polish culture, whereas Warsaw had been kind of like destroyed in World War II and then rebuilt with Soviet Union brutalist architecture. So they're like, no more of that, please. We'd like to stick to our own stuff. So yeah, she's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yes, young gentleman.
What is Granuel's last name?
McTiernan. McTiernan. Yeah. Granuel McTiernan. I'm so glad I remembered that. That would have been embarrassing if I, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Say her name so I know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, Granuel. Yeah. 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 She's. He asked me what she looks like. Red hair. That. By the way, that the tower that she lives in is, at the time that I wrote it, it was basically the only condo tower on the side of the Tempe Town Lake, and now it's like it's still there, but now it's surrounded by all this glass and steel State Farm stuff. So that really got built up a lot. It used to be when I wrote it, I'm like, everybody's going to know exactly where this is. They could find exactly where Granuel lives. That's cool. Now they're like, which one? Which of these buildings is he talking about? Yeah, that's the real life caught up with me there.
So she has a good neighbor.
Yeah. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That was good.
Take the microphone away.
Yeah.
Take the wife, please.
All right. Anybody else? So I could sign whatever you guys would like. And of course I will happily sign book plates as well for you. And the Poison Pen is going to make sure that you get your books, whether you come back to pick them up or they'll ship them to you, whatever you'd like. You just make arrangements with them and they'll take care of that. So we got one more question. Cool. Yeah.
So, who's your favorite Irish god to write about in the Iron Druid?
Oh, I really enjoyed both Flittish and the Morrigan because they were so sort of conflicted and not, they had some depth to them and they were working through some issues, whereas a lot of deities are kind of one-dimensional. I appreciated that both Flittish and the Morrigan had more to them. So, and I'm continuing to to enjoy writing the Morrigan as she appears in the Ink and Sigil series. So, yeah, she's a lot of fun. So yeah, Flittish though I really liked because she was you couldn't tell what side she was on, and I liked that part of it too. It was a kind of a recurring theme sometime. With Leif Helgerson, whose side was he on? Well, it's always his side, but yeah. There you go. Thank you so much. That was a great question, and I like your hat. Yeah,
really
yeah, I had a good time writing it, and yeah, I hope you guys dig it, especially when you see. Yeah, when you meet the alien, I think that's gonna be fun. So, because I had a blast with that too. So because it's literally one of those things. Like my wife, when I was writing Hounded, my wife was like, "Kevin, this is great. Everybody's gonna love this." And I was like, "Nobody's gonna want to read a story about a druid and a talking dog." And then I was kind of feeling that same way with this, where I'm like, nobody's going to want to read this story, and then maybe they will. They might really enjoy it because it's so weird. So, yeah, I hope you guys dig it. It's a lot of fun for me. So I hope you have fun too. Anybody else? We're all good?
Final call?
Yeah. TV or movies? Nah, there's nothing happening. I mean, I'm certainly willing for if anybody from Hollywood wants to come and give me a bag of money. I'm happy to let them do what they want. But yeah, I have no power to make those things happen. They have to come to me. So The stuff is there. I did sell an option for the Iron Druid to Warner Brothers, and that was around for like 3 years. But then they had some merger and everything fell apart. Nothing's happened since then. So that's the way it
they'll
goes.
bring another bag of money.
Yeah,
and you'll do another.
Sure.
Your option, right?
Yeah, whenever somebody wants to do that, I'm ready. Let's do it. So yeah.
All right.
Come on up and say hi.
Absolutely. Come on up, get your book signed. We've got plenty of other books here. If you brought your own, Kevin will be glad to sign those.
Mm-hmm.
To our online audience, thank you so much.
Yes.
Just remember that we've got a lot of Kevin coming this year, so keep an eye out on our website. And for those of you who are wondering again, we will be getting signed book plates for this one. And then when Kevin comes back, come on back with your book, and he'll be more than glad to flat sign it too. So
absolutely,
we really appreciate it, and thank you everybody for coming tonight, for supporting Kevin.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
If we could politely ask you all to go ahead and pick up your chair and move it to the left-hand side of the building, that'd be nice, just so that we have it nice and clear and nobody trips. Thank you. Yes.